In this video, we will be taking a look at the penetration pricing strategy in a little more detail. We will examine exactly what it is and analyse both the advantages and disadvantages of using it. With penetration pricing, marketers are taking customers' behaviour into account. They are trying to use psychology to impact their purchasing decisions. When using this strategy, a business sets its prices very low to start with. When the product or service is initially being introduced, they then increase the price after time. The strategy is widely used when a new product or service is launched, or when a new company enters a different market. It is also often used for a limited period of time as an introductory offer. Examples are gym memberships, where you might get a new joiners offer, or as simple as a new biscuit taking on the mighty Oreo, but initially charging considerably less. The aim here is to be cheaper than your competitors, and to get your customers to quickly learn about, and importantly like, what you're selling. Once your brand is established, and customers have faith in your business, you can put your prices up in line with your competition. It is important to note, however, that the strategy is generally not used as a long-term pricing strategy, because continuing to offer such low prices might make it very difficult to compete and maintain market share. Penetration pricing is the total opposite of price skimming, which we have looked at in another video. Both strategies are often used for selling new products or entering new markets. Price skimming involves setting a high price to start with and then reducing the price over time. And penetration pricing is the exact opposite, starting off with a low price and then increasing it over time. To all the teachers out there, show all of these videos without any ads and gain access to our growing library of over 500 teaching worksheets. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? Before we go any further, let's introduce this video's main example. This is Tim Benton, and he is the Chief Marketing Executive at Dynasty Media. Dynasty Media are a new company hoping to break into the UK broadband market. They intend to launch by offering a very low $9.99 starting price, which is much lower than the monthly cost for many other broadband providers in the UK. Dynasty only plans to offer this cheap price for the first 6 months. But they don't want to make that too clear. The details are hidden away in the small print. They will increase their prices after this to be much more in line with other UK broadband services. But Tim doesn't really want to mention that in their advertising campaign. In fact, Tim is not the most honest entrepreneur that we have looked at in these videos. So, Tim decides to run a big advertising campaign on TV, and also uses social media to promote their $9.99 offer. He knows that people in the UK tend to be loyal to their broadband providers, and they don't often switch. So, Tim knows that their prices need to really undercut, meaning be less than, the competition, to make it an attractive offer, to persuade people to change from their broadband provider over to Dynasty Media. They want to grow their market share quickly and get Dynasty Media's name to be really well known within the industry. They hope that their new customers will stay loyal to them when the prices eventually go up. Bring this video and over 100 more to life with fun, interactive games, quizzes and case studies. Why not try the first 25 completely free by visiting BizzWizard.co.uk. Let's look at the advantages to Dynasty Media of the penetration pricing strategy. So, firstly, it can be a really good way for them to quickly generate some sales, therefore increasing revenue, the total value of the sales. Hopefully, if they can keep costs down, this will lead to improving profits. This strategy is also pretty effective for them to grow market share and get their brand name known, particularly as they are new to the broadband market. Think of market share like a tasty pie. This is shared between all of the particular businesses in a certain market. With broadband, a piece of the pie would belong to Virgin Media, another piece would belong to TalkTalk, and another would be going to BT. There are obviously a number of others, but let's stick with these for now. When Dynasty Media takes 10 customers from the other 3 providers, some, or all of them, will lose a slither of their pie, which goes over to Dynasty. And as they take more and more, their competitors' pieces of pie get much smaller. Using this strategy will allow customers to get to know and hopefully like Dynasty's service, and this may lead to them remaining loyal to them once the price is increased. A loyal customer base can help to build a good brand. Each of the video courses over at BizzWizard.co.uk also includes an interactive business case study that applies the knowledge learned to a real-world scenario. There are over 1,000 multiple-choice questions, each with detailed feedback, which tests students' understanding of the content. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? Dynasty might also be able to develop economies of scale, as they sell more and more broadband packages. Their costs here are reduced because as they already have built the broadband infrastructure that provides their customers the service, adding more customers does not come at a high additional cost. To give you another example of what I mean here, imagine you run a business which creates deluxe chocolate cake. If you all of a sudden hook a deal with Tesco for your cake and you start to sell thousands of units, you will likely be able to pay less per cake for the flour, eggs, and milk, as you are now buying in such huge quantities to fulfill these orders. Finally, it can also be used by some businesses as a way of bringing in customers to their business with a low-cost product, and then selling a higher-priced related item. This is known as the hook and bait approach. There are, of course, many disadvantages Tim and the Dynasty team should consider before choosing this strategy. To start with, they may end up making little or even no profit when they are selling at this cheap initial price of £9.99. This is because they may not even be covering their costs. This might lead to difficulties paying for everything, and might end up being the end of Dynasty Media altogether. When Tim is deciding whether penetration pricing is right for the company, he would need to understand how customers will react to changes in pricing when it comes to broadband. If they are responsive, they may be able to tempt them away from their current provider. However, this might mean these customers are just as likely to look for another cheap offer somewhere else when Dynasty decide to put their prices back up. Let's face it, some people love to shop around, and they always want a bargain. You might get whatever cereal brand is on offer at the time, or, like me, you may be loyal to a certain brand and only ever buy, for example, Kellogg's Crunchy Nut, regardless of the price being charged. If potential customers are very loyal to another provider, like BT, who they have been with for years, it may be particularly hard to get them to switch over. For example, would you stop getting KFC just because there was a cheaper fried chicken place that's just opened up in town? Probably not. He'll also need to think about how long they can actually afford to keep these prices low, and this will depend on the finances of the business. This may mean that they don't actually have enough money coming in to pay the business's bills. He needs to be really careful. There is a possibility that the newly acquired customers might actually expect the prices to stay permanently low, and they will be surprised once they put them up in the future. The final disadvantage that we will consider is there's also a real risk that if they sell at such a low price, the established competitors like Virgin and BT might do the same thing to hang on to their market share. Tim may choose to lower Dynasty's prices even further, but again, Virgin and BT may match this. In this scenario, the customer has a big smile on their face, but both Dynasty and their rivals are losing out and dealing with shrinking profit margins. All of these factors, both positive and negative, will need to be seriously considered by Tim and his team before deciding whether this is the right pricing strategy for them. As we've said in other pricing strategy videos, A business will need to look at its costs, competitors, and consumers when setting its prices. When you get a question about penetration pricing or any other pricing strategy, it's important to think about all the options and what the pros and cons might be in each situation. This has been the BizzWizard. See you in the next video.